Hey YouTubers, well I got another power inverter review for you guys tonight. So this one is from a company called Tycorun. They reached out to me a few weeks ago and asked me if I would do the review on this, and I said sure. So anyways, this here is a 1000 watt pure sine wave power inverter. So first things first, I'm going to flip it over on its back and I'm going to get some quick measurements for you. So the way that I'm going to do my measurement is I'm going to lay it over this way and I'm going to measure from the edge all the way to the end of the terminal right there, because it does stick out, and I might add just a little bit to it because you know that that terminal is going to have a lug in it, so it's not always going to be screwed in. We're just going to go ahead and call it 10.5. We're going to measure it this way and it comes out to 5, and this way it's 2 3/4. So I just wanted to mention that it is an aluminum housing. You can see it's got some heat sinks there on the sides, and then, you know, even on the back, this thing is really strong. Here on the ends, that is steel, because a magnet will stick to it. So you can see you got your display there in the middle, and then when you turn the unit over to the side, you've got your 2 AC outlets. Then you've got your little lug right there for your ground, and it comes with a little grounding wire. And it's funny because it's got a ring terminal, and then it also has the little alligator clip. Thought that was pretty neat. That way you could ground it really quickly if you needed to. Right here, you've got a pair of USB type A's, and then right above that you have a USB-C PD port, and then you have your typical rocker switch. Now it shows that there's a 1, and then it shows there's a middle, and then there's a number 2. So we'll figure that out here in just a bit. And flipping it over to the other side, you can see there's a cooling fan there in the middle, and then you've got your toolless terminals. You know, you don't have to use a wrench to tighten them up. They've just got like a piece of plastic with a, looks like a brass insert, like a nut insert in there, and you don't need any kind of tools to tighten them up. So it does come in handy if you're using this on like a portable power station that you would make and put in a milk crate or something like that. I've showed you guys in one of the other videos. I'll link it to this one. It's the video with the Redodo battery. It's the mini, so check that video out if you hadn't already. But yeah, the inverter, it looks nice. We're gonna go ahead and test it out here in just a few minutes. So I'm gonna run you through some of the stuff that it comes with. It comes with a remote, and I've never reviewed an inverter with a remote before. I've always wanted one because for my application it'd be very useful, because I've got my office in here, and then across the hallway is a bedroom, and that's where I have my solar set up. And you know, in the summertime I run an air conditioner in there, and so when my batteries start wearing down and I get up and run to the other room in there and turn it off. Well, with this, you know, I can just monitor the battery on my phone through the app and then turn it off. With this right here, just turn the inverter off. The little remote here, and it takes a 23A battery, and if you're not familiar with those, it's like a little short AAA battery. They do cost a little bit more money, but it doesn't come with it. Luckily I had 2 of them. And then also it comes with this cable here, and this plugs into your cigarette lighter, and the other end of this plugs into the inverter. And it does have a warning on here that tells you not to exceed 150 watts or you'll blow the fuse. So, you know, if it goes over that 150 watts, you want to just go ahead and connect it with some heavier duty cables directly to the battery so you don't blow any fuses and all that. So just want to let you guys know. So a couple of things that I noticed that with this inverter, you know, that's different with other inverters, is usually they give you a little packet of fuses. So in case you blow a fuse here in the cigarette lighter, there's a little fuse in there. They usually give you an extra fuse, or they give you extra fuses for the blade fuses that are inside the inverter. So this one didn't have that. And then the next thing is this come with 4 flat washers for the terminals. So usually it's only 2 flat washers and 2 lock washers. And then I wanted to go ahead and measure the terminals right here. They're M6s. You can see right there where the terminals on your battery are M8s. The reason I mention this is because the wires that they give you, plugs on the end of them, are perfect for these terminals. They fit on there perfect. So, you know, there's not a loose connection, and, you know, it fits on there. It's the right size terminal. But then on the other side, you can see right here, look how big that is. I mean, that's freaking huge. You know, I would probably put some smaller terminals on these wires. So I just wanted to point out that I tried to find the size wire that these are, and I can't tell. It's written in Chinese on them, but it does say on the website that these are pure copper wires. Now I did take and I cut the heat shrink back, and I did confirm that it is copper wires. It's not copper clad aluminum. So the way that you're going to hook this up is you're just going to put the battery cable on there, and then put your flat washer. There's no lock washer like I said earlier, and then you just put your little plastic nutsert on there, and just make sure they're nice and tight. Don't go crazy on them or you'll break them. So in today's testing, I just wanted to show you that we're going to be using the new VoltGo battery, and I've tested it in the last video and it done really well, so I'm going to start using it in some of my videos. But I should have a full review out on this thing probably beginning middle of next week. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you hadn't already, so you get that notification when that review comes live. And so anyways, before you make your final connection, I've already made the negative here, but before you make that final connection to the battery, just take you a resistor, and I've got these linked in the description down below, and you just touch it to the battery terminal there for maybe 5-10 seconds. And the reason you do that is because you're charging the capacitors on the inside of that inverter, and it just prevents there from being a spark and damaging those capacitors. Oh, I almost forgot, I didn't turn the battery on. You want to make sure the battery is turned on. I forget on this battery because there is a power button, so you gotta charge it while the battery is on. I about made a boo-boo. So anyways, just hold it there for 5 or 10 seconds, and that's plenty. And then you see when you touch the cable to the battery, there's no spark and there's no risk of damage of those capacitors on the inside of the inverter. When you go to tighten everything down, make sure you get a good screwdriver. I got these the other week from Weehaw. Man, I've been very, very impressed with these. These are insulated and they work great, and there's no slippage. Now, some of the screwdrivers I've had before, when you go to tighten them down, man, they just slip. And man, it's nice to have a good set of screwdrivers that you ain't got to worry about getting shocked or worry about rounding the head of the screws off. So check out Weehaw. Put that in the description as well. All right, so there's a couple different ways to turn this inverter on. If you mash it to the top, then it turns the inverter on all the time until you turn it off. Now, if you put it here in the middle, that turns the inverter off. Now, if you mash it down to where it says remote right there, then that sets it up to where the wireless remote can turn it on. And this thing works really, really well. I'm surprised. I love this feature. Now, I will say that the battery that I put in the remote earlier, it lit up red when I mashed the on button, and you could see it lighting up red inside that remote, but it wasn't enough to turn the inverter on. So, I mean, I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, I know this battery's not dead. I can see it lighting up in there, but I switched the battery out, and luckily I had two, and the second one just turned it right on, no problem. So if you're sitting there mashing that on button and it's not turning the inverter on, check your battery and your remote. It took me 10 minutes to figure that out. So I'm sure you're wondering, what is the range on this remote like I was? So I was really excited about getting this remote. So the first thing that I did was hop up and run to the other end of the house and turn the inverter on, and it worked. I mean, literally, this is not a tiny house. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. But yeah, I went to the other end. My girlfriend's like, I'm surprised you didn't go outside and test it out in the yard. But yeah, this thing works great. I mean, I was shocked. I didn't expect it to go that far, and so I'm very impressed with the range on the remote. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and show you the screen here on the front. You can see right there that you've got your voltage from your battery where it says 13.7, and then over here it says 60 hertz, and then down below that is your 120 volts AC, and then down below that is where your output wattage would be, and of course there's nothing plugged into it, so it's reading all zeros. And then over here, this is your battery indicator, and they claim that this display is supposed to be pretty accurate, so we'll see. Now, before we get too far into it, I'm gonna go ahead and test some of these ports here on the end just to make sure that they all work. So I just wanted to test these USB ports, and you can see right there I've got these two USB lights, and I always recommend these. These are from VT Power. I'll put a link in the description. They only use 5 watts a piece. And then as far as the USB-C port there, it says that it's rated for a maximum of 20 watts. Now, I just got this cable from SlimQ, and it's showing right there that it's up 14, 15. It's been fluctuating between, there it goes, 15 watts. but that's all that I've been able to get out of it. So this inverter on standby uses 8.64 watts of power. That's pretty good because it's not using very much power when there's nothing plugged into it. So the two receptacles down below are rated at 15 amps at 120 volts at 60 hertz. And it doesn't say in the manual that it's GFCI protected, but I did see it on the website. Maybe they just haven't made their correction on there, but I've got a GFCI tester here. And you know, when we mash the button to make it reset, I mean, I would figure that this would turn off or whatever. So I don't believe that it is. Like I said, it could probably just be a mistake that they haven't corrected it on their website. But now I do want to mention that if you get some of these plugs that come out and angle down at a 90-degree angle, then it might not work for you. And I can barely get this one pushed in just enough for it to work. So keep that in mind if you've got a plug on yours like that. So next we're going to check the sine wave with this power inverter. They claim that it's pure sine wave, so let's check it out and see. And yep, you can see right there that it is a pure sine wave, distortion free. So I was talking earlier about the screen being really reliable or inaccurate. You can see right there it says it's 120 volts. Right here on the watt meter it shows 120.7, and then it shows right there 60 hertz. And then right there it shows 60 hertz. All right, so it shows right here on the top of the inverter that it says it's a 1,000 watt inverter, and it says peak power is 2,200 watts. Well, here in the manual, it shows for this inverter, it shows 1,000 watts, but peak watts 2,000. So I'm not sure if it's 2,000 or 22. So there's a typo right in there. Yeah, they need to correct that, and it should be good. So now we're going to test this thing out and see what all it can do. So I just wanted to mention before we do the testing, we're using the VoltGo 200 amp hour battery, and it's fully charged. Anyways, we've got a hair dryer here. It's rated for 1,000 watts, and we've got it plugged into the watt meter here. I'm not sure exactly. I know on low without the heat, it's like 150 to 177 watts, somewhere in there. But on high, I'm not sure exactly what it goes up to, but we're going to try to get as close to that 1,000 watt as we can. So we'll see what it does. Now I've set the watt meter here, and you know, when you reset it, it goes back to 0, but then it has a function on here that tells you the highest wattage the product surged to. So now I've got it set on just watts, so it's going to do a real-time readout of the wattage going through it. But after we're done, I'll show you the surge wattage. It's pretty neat little meter. If you're interested in these, they're like 10 or 12 bucks. They're on Amazon. I'll put a link for it in the description. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and turn it on low. You see right there, 180.4 watts. I don't know how well you guys can see that. And that's on low. Now I'm going to go ahead and kick it up and see how much power. 890. And the fan on the inverter come on. It's actually moving quite a bit of air. Now, I will keep a look at these terminals and make sure that they don't get too hot. You see we've ran it a minute or so, and it's right at 891.3 watts. And I wanted to turn it off, and whenever I turn it off, you can hear everything silent. The fan goes off whenever I turn the load off, so it don't stay running. So anyways, we're going to find something else to plug in here and see if we can't jack that wattage up and get closer to the 1,000 watt mark. All right, guys, so you've seen this thing stabilize out at about 890 watts, and you know, we needed something to kick it up closer to that 1,000 watt mark and see if it can handle that much power. So I've got a box fan. Now I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, it's cold in here. I like it a little bit chilly in my house, but this thing here is gonna put out somewhere around 70-80 watts, but I'm gonna turn it in the other direction because I don't want it blowing on me, and also I don't want the sound to come up from the camera. It'll make all kinds of wind noise and loud noises, so I'll blow it the other way. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and turn this on high. 886. 890, 889. And that thing is heat. It's not just on the cool function. So now we've got the box fan plugged in right here. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on and see what it spikes up to. And that's on high with the box fan. 975, 978, 980, 978, 977. Guys, that's as close to 1,000 watts as you're going to be able to get. 981. Let's run it for a minute and see if it has any problems running it. We'll check these cables, see if they're getting hot. I've got a thermal camera here. I'm going to check them and see if they're hot. It'll take it a minute for this thing to boot up. I gotta say, the fan is really quiet and it puts out a lot of air. $980 watts. So I'm gonna check the temperatures of the terminals back here and see what they come up to. Alright guys, so you can see my hands laying on the table right there, and looking at the thermal camera, when I move my hand, you can see my fingerprint. Ain't that cool? That's so crazy that you can still see it. But I wanted to show you something. Whenever you look through a thermal camera, sometimes they cast a reflection, and so that's what this is doing when I'm shining it on those terminals. It's saying that they're 136, 37 degrees. So that's getting way on up there to the point where it's uncomfortable. So I'm going to shut this thing down just simply because that's too hot. 140 degrees, yep. So I don't want to run this thing much longer. But you can see that those wires are causing it to get hot. Also, I wanted to point out, once I turn the hairdryer off and the box fan off, you can hear the fan now. Listen to that. Try to turn it around for you. And it's a lot of the heat that's coming from the inverter is coming from them terminals right there, and it's making it hot on the inside, I'm sure. There it goes. It finally shut down. But let's see if I can get a kick back on. Let's see if I can read what it says. It looks like it's 110. So yeah, it's still a little warm on them terminals, and it's trying to cool it down. And that temperature sensor is coming on and off, so that's why that fan finally kicked on a couple times, and then now it's shut down. So, you know, if it was me to correct this problem, I would just get some bigger wires. And man, these wires are hot. So if you're gonna run this thing up to 1,000 watts and you're gonna run it to its max, definitely upgrade the wires. I don't understand why inverter companies do not just send some adequate wires. I know they're trying to save money, but, you know, don't even send wires if they're not going to be, you know, adequate enough, you know, because this could cause somebody a fire. If I was going to recommend to the company to do something, upgrade the wire size and make the terminals a little bit better. You don't want this to catch on fire. So anyways, other than that, the inverter, it ran damn good. I'm not going to lie. It's a nice inverter. I'm very, very pleased with this inverter. But yeah, I'm not done with it yet. So let's go ahead and see if we can overload it just real quick. We're going to put a space heater on it and try to power 1,500 watts on this thing just for a second. Because like I said, these wires are pretty hot. I'm going to let them cool down for a minute. All right, so you guys seen us do the load test, and we ran the hairdryer. We went ahead and got that inverter up to 983.7 watts, and that was the highest recorded wattage. So now I'm going to reset this thing back down to wattage, and then we're going to plug in this space heater. And this space heater is kind of weird. When you turn it on, it goes right to high. So this thing should make this thing Move it up here where you guys can see it. Now, as soon as I turn it on, like I said, it'll be on high, and that should be 1,500 and something watts, and we'll see how long this thing will run it. Just keep an eye on the watt meter, and I'll make sure nothing's catching on fire. All right. 300, 376, 400, 700, 854, 9, 1,000, 32, 11, 1160 something. And then it shut down. So there, it sounded the alarm. That's exactly what you want. Man, this thing, it really does good. Really, really nice inverter. Very, very impressed. So you guys seen that? It shut the inverter down for just a second and sounded the alarm, and it turned the heater off. Now, it didn't take it long to turn around and reset the inverter. So it's ready to go again if I wanted to. But right there, let's go ahead and find the high setting. Yeah, it peaked at 1,223 watts. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. It passed. So I gotta say, I'm very, very impressed with this Tycorun 1,000 watt pure sine wave power inverter. This thing really passed the test. And like I said, if I was gonna run this and run it to its, you know, maximum limits, you know, probably above 700-800 watts, I would definitely upgrade the cables. I mean, that's just, you know, my only concern with this. I really love the remote and the distance that it has. The range is amazing on this thing. But, you know, the inverter puts out clean power, and it was able to run that space heater for a few seconds there, and it ran that hairdryer no problem. So anyways, just upgrade your cables and you'll be good. And so anyways, I'll put a link to it down in the description if you're interested in this product. And then also the oscilloscope, it'll be down there along with the thermal camera, the watt meter, and the clamp meter. And then if you're interested, the Volgo battery, make sure you check out my video. It'll be coming out pretty soon. It's a pretty cool battery. So anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. So sorry this video was so long and drawn out, but I like to do my testing and you know, do it right, and that way you guys can see it. But anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good one. Please like and subscribe.